I am here on Giant Steps with Jackson Mathod, the incredible trumpet player and songwriter who released his debut album, Travels in a Confined Space, earlier this month. So, hello, Jackson. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Straight into the album, then the title, Travels in a Confined Space, obviously sort of refers to the lockdown in which this record was created. But were these tracks sort of already things you had been working on before, or were they all sort of brand new compositions?
Yeah, so this is like a brand new body of work that was all created in the first lockdown last year. So hence the title, Travels in a Confined Space. So it's kind of like I'd never really been that much of a writer before last year, and I went through this process of kind of learning loads of jazz standards and kind of getting a bit more harmonic knowledge and stuff like that. So, and then like a few weeks into lockdown, it was like my subconscious was kicking in. I was just like, music was kind of like flowing out of me, man. It was like, it's something that I've wanted for years. And it's something that I've struggled with, writing original music. And then to suddenly have, all this kind of outpouring of ideas was just a great process and an organic one, because it was a lot of I found out a lot about my writing process, and it's, as I mentioned, like it's a lot based on following ideas that kind of come to me, whenever they do, like whether it's in, like just before bed when I'm brushing my teeth or like in the shower or whatever, like little ideas, like following those like initial ideas, whatever they may be, has led to, a lot of the musical ideas that are in this album. So yeah, it's about finding myself and the artist that I want to be. But also I want the music to take you in a different direction as well. So I want it to take you in different places. It's kind of like a musical protest, I guess, against the lockdown. So, I couldn't go out, still can't really go out and, travel and do the things that I want to do. So I do it through my music.
A very nice way to put it, a musical protest. I like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting, because a lot of artists have sort of said they struggled to sort of be creative during lockdown, but it sort of seems to be very much the opposite with you, with what you're saying there. But sort of other tracks as well, tracks sort of like India and sort of Spanish Bifter, which are sort of great tracks that we love to play on the show. But sort of was there a reason sort of not to include these on an album, sort of as you wanted sort of more of a lockdown theme and sort of everything to be part of that?
Yeah, I mean, it just wouldn't, although they are kind of quite, like Spanish Bifter it's Latin influenced, and India is about traveling to India. It just, for me, it didn't fit in with this. Although I love the tracks, it just didn't fit in with this little new body of work and this new direction that I seem to have stumbled into. I very much see myself as kind of like starting this creative journey, and I wanted a little body of work, and it was just happened to be an album. I wanted a little body of work to kind of signify that beginning of this journey. So I'm going, like I want being an artist is very much about starting like a creative journey and going there, wherever it is. Just go there. Like that's the thing. I don't know where I'm going, but I've got a clear direction of where I see this music going, and I'll keep writing. And if people want to join me along the ride, come along. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
That's what it's all about. So yeah, it's although it kind of would have made sense. Yeah, it just didn't make sense for me to incorporate those singles into the album, because they were written like 3 years ago. The Park, I think, is about 5 years old. I wrote that ages ago, and that tune in itself has gone through like a big journey, and I actually released some music in 2019, and I was going for like a completely different thing, like a singer-songwriter, dub influenced music, basically. And I always thought that was what I wanted to do, but it didn't go down that well. And I just didn't feel proud of it. You know, like I'd be at a party and someone would put it on, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? It was not something that I was proud of. So yeah, I ended up doing this collaboration with this R&B duo called Fika. And we got a track out called Make You Feel. And I originally released that music under a different artist name. I was trying to go for something like hipster. So it was JAX0N, which it was really hard for people to find me, actually, because it's quite, you know,
the most Googleable name.
Yeah, I know. People got confused whether it was a O or a zero. So that was a mistake in itself. But I remember when we were doing the artwork for that track, it was like, which name do you want to use? They gave me the two options of my actual name and this artist name. And I was just like, this just feels right. It feels right to me. And it was just an opportunity for me to have a look at myself and be like, right, I just need to take all of this music down. And it all coincided with coronavirus, basically. And gave me a chance to reset and just figure out what I'm about. So when we got in and recorded it, I was very much like away from the band with the sound technician, kind of directing how I wanted it to go. And obviously there's freedom for everyone to kind of do their own thing to an extent, though. I'm quite specific with how I want my recorded sound to be. And I don't want like all my tunes to go on for really like long. Most of my tunes are like, I think the longest one is Little Mouse, which is about 6 minutes. It's just like, just because it's jazz doesn't mean it has to have loads of solos and it has to, you know, go on for ages, you know. At the end of the day, like, think about bebop. Most of the main records, they're all like 3.5 minutes long.
It's like short pop tracks.
Yeah. And it obviously it depends on what's happening in the track. But I want to make a distinct difference between my recorded sound and my live sound. You know, we can branch out and we can do more solos when we play it live. And that's the thing, like, this music it belongs on the stage. And with an audience having fun, dancing. I don't want my music to be like super highbrow. Like there'll be like little highbrow elements to it. But you know, just because it's jazz doesn't mean it can't be accessible to everyone. Definitely. And I want my music to be accessible.
Definitely, that's something we try to do on this show as well. Sort of get the jazz that makes you dance. It's accessible to everyone.
Yeah, man. It's yeah. As soon as you mention the J word to people, they're like, I don't like that. But it's like, yeah, but you haven't heard my music. Exactly. But, you know, you haven't heard. Maybe you haven't been listening to the right jazz. And there's a lot of artists who are kind of challenging that idea, you know. And I just want to keep being true to myself and keep putting out music that represents me.
Definitely. I think that this record's definitely something to be proud of in that sense. But
thank you, man.
You were talking there about Little Mouse, and that's a track that sort of very, very intrigued me when I first heard that on the record. And it's sort of, for listeners who haven't heard it yet, it's you sort of strike up a conversation with a mouse over sort of the rhythm. But was this a conversation that was inspired by sort of true events in lockdown? Did you have a sort of rodent infestation at all in lockdown?
No, you know what? Along with writing jazz, I started writing music about animals, and Little Mouse was the tune that kind of kicked that off, really. So I've actually written a few more tunes about animals. When you use like imagery, or you say, I'm going to write a piece about like an animal, it gives you a whole new kind of idea. You can a whole new way of thinking about writing. You know, you picture an animal or whatever it is through sound. Eventually, what I really want to do is have animations and do like a visual series for kids or something like that, you know, because kids take things in, you know, subconsciously. So if you get them listening to, you know, jazz music with some nice animations, you know, kids are important. So get them listening to nice music.
Definitely.
Rather than some dross. Do you know what I mean?
We're speaking of like being a kid and sort of opening them up to the world of jazz. Sort of, I read that you picked up the trumpet at the age of 8, which is obviously quite young. Sort of, how did you get into that world and sort of that instrument in particular?
Well, I did the classic thing that you do at primary school. You learn the recorder.
Oh yeah.
And then you upgrade to a real instrument.
Oh, apologies to all the recorder players out there who've just been heavily insulted.
I actually used to, when I went to Guildhall, I actually used to live with a recorder player. So yeah, I'm chatting breeze, man. I'm chatting breeze. But yeah, picked up the trumpet, and my parents loved having music in the house. So it was just, I had some teachers. And then when I went to secondary school, they were like very supportive and saying to my parents, you know, you should think about getting Jackson to Saturday school. Yeah, so the conservatoires, they've got a Saturday school, like a junior. So I went to junior Guildhall, and there I stayed till I was 18. And then I stayed some more. I did senior Guildhall as well. I was there for about 11 years, which is a long time. So yeah, I was ready to leave, and I haven't been back since. I'm not gonna lie.
Was it not really your sort of scene then, and not really your environment?
No, I'd love Guildhall with all my heart, but when you're there for such a long time, you know, it's time to leave. I had my good times, I had my bad times there, but when it was time to leave, it's like we're going into the working life now, and I don't really do much teaching, and it would take a while and quite a lot of experience of teaching to teach at somewhere like Guildhall, but it would be something I would be interested in at some point. Maybe give back to the place that has taught me a lot. But yeah, going into my professional life, yeah, I studied jazz at senior Guildhall. And then it was just something that I didn't really want to pursue. I found the whole process at music college very intimidating. And it was very competitive. And I mean, the jazz scene in the UK is quite competitive anyway. And going to Ronnie's and hanging out at the Late Show, there's a lot of, you know, playing just loads of notes and, you know, outdoing each other, that whole thing. And it put me off. It really did. And I didn't really feel like I had the hang. No, I didn't really make many friends in the jazz world. So that's why I got into like session work. I was just focusing on earning my living from doing gigs.
Well, yeah, because I read you were part of Stormzy's backing band at Glastonbury as well, right?
Yeah, which was, yeah, so the first thing that we did with him was Wireless Festival, and then we did a couple of live lounges, and then Glastonbury. Playing with a headline artist at Glastonbury, like, not many people can say they've done that.
No, that's a true bucket list item.
Yeah, it really is. And funnily enough, that year I played my old music there as well, so it was a really special one for me. And it seems absolutely bizarre that a year later we would be in the mess that we are. It's a very strange time, but it's time for everyone. Needs live music. It's important for the soul. Like, I really love performing. So when I was writing all the music for the album, I just was like, right, I'm going to make some cheeky backing tracks, buy a little PA, and play outside my house. So I started doing that. I started doing some gigs outside my house in the summer last year. And it was just a really nice opportunity to test out the music. And it was really interesting seeing the mix of ages that were coming and enjoying it. I'm sure it's, you know, because people haven't seen live music in, you know, a long time, they were just super keen to be sitting and enjoying some music.
Get some pavement jazz.
Yeah, pavement jazz. I was just so desperate to perform. That was first and foremost what it was about. And, you know, interested to see what people might think of this music that I've been, you know, creating in my room for weeks and weeks. So, yeah. And now it's finally out, you know, now a part of what's in store is out. Like, I very much think this album is just like a glimpse into what's to come, really. It's, yeah, like I said before, it marks the start of this creative journey I seem to have landed myself in.
Have you got any sort of things lined up this summer where you'll get to try and play some more of that live?
Well, I'm playing at the Jazz Cafe on the 24th of May, which is really, I think there's only like 10 tickets left, which is amazing.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
doing like a double header gig with a guitarist, singer, Rosie Frater-Taylor, and it's going to be with an audience there. So I'm excited and I'm ready. It's time for live music to make the comeback everybody wants.
It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been way too long.
Now, this is a question that I like to ask guests on the show. It's sort of a bit more of a standard question, but it's if you had to recommend sort of one track to introduce someone to the world of jazz, sort of what would it be? And we're talking about sort of accessibility and getting people into jazz. What would you recommend as that gateway?
I'd say something like Strasbourg Saint-Denis by Roy Hargrove.
Great track.
You know, like I love he's one of my big inspirations, and I think Dumb People is massively inspired by a tune called Crazy Race, which is just, you know, you have nice, simple melodies that is accessible. Like RH Factor is a big influence on what I do. You hear that, you hear Strasbourg, and you're like, you instantly feel at home. Like it just feels good straight from the off in it. It fills you with good vibes. You know, there's different levels to this jazz world, but yeah, the accessibility, Roy Hargrove or Herbie Hancock, you know, but Strasbourg Saint-Denis for sure.
Strasbourg is a great track, and we'll play that a little bit later on in the show then as tribute.
Yes.
But, so finally, you mentioned Dumb People there, and that's actually the track we're going to play next on the show. Obviously, the lead single from the record.
Yeah,
brilliant track. So, is there a particular set of dumb people that you are referring to in that track? And are they sort of? Is this the same people that inspired Cretins as well? On the album?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. This is the thing. Those two were written at the start of lockdown when it's like toilet paper embargo, and you know, it's just selfish people. And Dumb People is about a specific video that I watched of this woman from America who was protesting the lockdown. She was like, you know, it's time to open up. We're tired of not being able to buy the things that we need, go to the hairdressers, get our hair done. And, you know, it's time to open up. I was like, of all the things you could have said, you chose, you know, get my hair done. It was just ridiculous. And it inspired me to write Dumb People. So yeah, inspiration can come in very strange forms, but yeah, thank you, women in America. She even, it's so funny, this video, she even points to her head at the time, and bless her, she did need to get her hair done, you know, but you know, there's other, you could have said so many other different things, you know, than just getting your hair done. But it seems like the global pandemic really just, you know, brought out so many stupid moments, and still it keeps going on. They're everywhere. So I wrote them a happy little tune,
a little tribute.
But yeah, I was a bit nervous about calling it Dumb People, because it, you know, I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence. I'm an idiot as well. I must admit, you know, I have stupid tendencies, but
Don't we all?
But everyone seems to be all right with it, you know. Like Jazz FM don't have a problem with it, which is great. So yeah, I'm really glad. It's my catchiest number, and it's nice and short.
As you said, inspiration comes from lots of different places during lockdown.
100%.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show and talking to me.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
For everyone out there, Jackson Mathod's debut album, Travels in a Confined Space, is out now. Amazing record. Go check it out. I'm sure there'll be lots more great stuff to come in the near future. But yeah, for now, this is Jackson Mathod with Dumb People.